Much for joining us on our live TNT program. We do this every Saturday and we invite people from around the world to come and join us. I'm sort of very much in Saturday mode, and I love my Turtle Beach t-shirt, and thank you to all those people that do send us paraphernalia from time to time, everything from cherry ripes to some cool shirts. So now we're talking primarily about expats today and what the expats are. There's a few things that have brought this topic about today. One was a topic we spoke about yesterday. It was a post on a forum here in Thailand, which gave descriptions of what a lot of our friends and family think are reasons that we come to Thailand, what they maybe secretly think, and we'll go through those again for those people that missed out. Also, earlier in the week, there was a story about renting a wife in Thailand, and the thrust of the article was really talking about the perhaps a new phenomenon of more formalised long-term rentals, not just your overnight bar girl in Pattaya, but something a little bit more long-term. And rather than a marriage, it's a financial transaction between two people. So, I mean, I'm not trying to narrow down in any way the definition of an expat in Thailand because, as I said in our description of today's program, I think they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And we're going to try and illuminate exactly who are the expats in Thailand. And I don't think that what you think is the typical expat in Thailand is really what's going on. You might be a little bit surprised by the numbers. Firstly, acknowledging some of the people online. We've got Frank in the Philippines, who, as you can already see, he's decided to go to borders beyond Thailand and now resides in the Philippines. He says, too much pollution. You went to the Philippines? Language is too hard for me, and rural Thai don't speak English. Lack of accountability and inability to make a fuss about it due to defamation laws. There you go. So, Frank, thank you for joining us here in Thailand, all the way from the Philippines. Magnitude 10, good morning from Bangkok. Been here for 10 years, having a great time. Luke says, a morning all from a very humid Sydney. Guzzy Jack, Daryl McGee, Daryl with us, I think, every week. Shano Traveller, Duncan and... Focus, Tim, focus. Duncan and Disorderly. Yeah, get it, okay. Colin, good morning, Tim, from Adelaide. A few Aussies here. Wayne Baston, and he's here in the land of smiles. And we've got someone in Hua Kien, Chombury, humid Sydney. Tim Shaw, good morning, Tim. And John Armstrong, nice to have you with us, John. Good morning to everyone. So, yeah, look at... Oh, gee, I've got quite a few things here. Colin says... and these, by the way, are completely unfiltered. These come through live, so you're sort of seeing them as I'm seeing them. To Tim Shaw, Adelaide is historically known as a Mediterranean climate, but it's occasionally been a bit more humid in summer over the past couple of years. The past 4 days have been like Thailand. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought... Adelaide was particularly humid. Same with Melbourne, where I come from, a very dry, hot climate in the summer. Jom Tien, Heiko Homburg. I'm just having a bit of a problem. This eye's fine, this eye not so good. So, yeah, hopefully you're not having any problems. I've actually got a problem in my own feed here. Tap to retry. Okay. Well, I'm getting all the comments. That's the main thing. Gail says, hello from cold, windy city. And Paul from Hua Hin. Okay, so let's just sort of start with with this. There's one person in particular on our comment section who often, oh God, I hope we're working here, who often says that You're not an expat, you're an immigrant. So are you an expat or are you an immigrant? Well, let's just sort of see what Mr. Internet says. And the main difference between an expat and an immigrant is their intentions for living in another country. Expat, a person who lives outside their native country, usually for a limited time, and may or may not intend to return. The term often used to describe educated, rich professionals working abroad. Oh, well, that's me. Except for the educated, rich and professional part. Otherwise, yeah. Now, an immigrant, on the other hand, they describe as a person who moves to a new country with the intention of settling there permanently. However, the term can be used in different ways and the distinction between the two can be complicated. I think some people sort of think that sort of poor people are immigrants and more wealthy people are expats. So it's obviously a lot more complicated than that. But do you see yourself as an expat or an immigrant? I don't care. If somebody wants to call me an immigrant, I'll go, yeah, sure, that's fine. What do you think is the difference between an expat and an immigrant? That definition, by the way, was put together by AI. Mr. Artificial Intelligence sifted through the internet and the different definitions and came up with that definition. See if you agree. A few people coming through with their comments. Oh, this is a question from Anthony Orm. Love the show, Tim. It's all about expectations for expats coming to Thailand and accepting Thai culture. The defamation laws don't help us as misused by people to shut others up. Well, I suppose it's only a problem if you are trying to defame somebody. Otherwise, the defamation laws really shouldn't have any impact on you at all. Heiko Homburg says there is almost no possibility to immigrate to Thailand. Is it? Well, I mean, yes. Any intention to stay here seems to be an annual situation where you have to renew your visa annually, unless you are on a. I've really got to turn my brain on. Where's that coffee? What are those long-term visas called? The the ones that for 5, 10 and 20 years. The elite visa. Oh, good God, what time is it? So the elite visa does allow you to stay here for 5, 10 or 20 years. You can get permanent residency and you can get citizenship in Thailand, but both are very expensive and do take a long time to sort of work through. And the bar is set fairly high. Things like speaking conversationally in Thai, I'm never going to achieve that because I'm just stupid. Also, you've got to have a very good track record with visas leading up to it. And you've got to be able to sing the Thai national anthem. I think you've got to also just understand an interview where you sit down with people who are vetting you whether you deserve to have permanent residency or citizenship. If permanent residency was easier to get, I would probably certainly apply for that because it is my intention to stay here permanently, as far as I can see. I have no intention to ever become a citizen here. I don't feel that's necessary, and I'm proudly Australian, even though I do live permanently or otherwise here in Thailand. But staying here as a long-term immigrant is a bit of a problem. John Armstrong says, comment, I'm a long-distance snowbird. I just got a retirement visa, but will return annually for the North American summer. So that's great. John, you got the best of both worlds, I suppose. You're happy to do that, and you have the resources because not particularly cheap to fly from North America to Thailand each year. It's also an issue, I suppose, that the airfares for long-haul travel are not getting any cheaper. So for those people that do spend half a year there and half a year here, it is getting a bit more expensive to sort of live that lifestyle. But if you can do it, that's great. I'm a snowbird guest, says Norse Clown. Alf Vanderholst. Well, my visa is called non-immigrant. I'm guessing short for non-immigrant. I guess technically I will never be an immigrant. If I could get a permanent resident status, I don't feel like an immigrant. That's a very good comment, Alf. All our long-term visas are non-immigrant visas, non-immigrant O, non-immigrant B, etc. So, yeah, I think the Thai government doesn't see us as immigrants. I think the way that you define yourself as an expat or an immigrant or anything else really depends on how you see yourself. How other people see you may not really be very interesting or important. It's how you see yourself relating to the country. Big thanks to Gail. Oh my God. Gail, thank you very much. I am humbled by your generosity all the way there from Chicago. Gail says, happy holidays and thank you for your great news reporting. Gail, thank you. That's really appreciated, and I appreciate you watching every week. And wow. So there you go. Gail, interesting question to you, Gail. I know this is a bit more of a thing in the United States than other parts of the world, this happy holidays thing. For some reason, a lot of Americans don't feel they can say Merry Christmas. I've sort of followed the issue broadly over the last, say, 10 years, but I have no hesitation to say, for those people out there, Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, that's fine too, but I'm extending my Christmas wishes to you. But somebody might like to weigh their oar in there. Look, I've even got my Christmas tree up. Looks very short on camera, doesn't it? Got a big gold star on top. But yeah, I still, even though I'm living in a Buddhist country, I still celebrate Christmas. I'm not a Christian, but it's a tradition that our family had for many years. I enjoyed the spirit of Christmas, enjoyed the spirit of giving. I am giving to my guests again this year by cooking up a storm and having a traditional Christmas lunch when in fact it'll be 35 degrees outside. Gail, anyway, thank you very much. You sort of threw me a bit there. Tiger has money and his mum was Thai. Talking about Tiger Woods there, I must have missed that part of the conversation. Joe Schmo, Tim, why aren't you in Turtle Beach? I am in Turtle Beach. Why do you think I'm not in Turtle Beach? I'm looking out right now across Turtle Beach. I'm definitely here. Heiko Homburger, I'm on a 20-year privilege former elite visa. But I'm still considered an expat, not an immigrant, because I cannot become a Thai citizen. That's what the immigration office says. Well, yeah, that's basically it. I think Thais like to retain their land. You can't buy land here as a Thai. You can lease land. You can lease it for a very long time. But you can't own land here in Thailand, except in very a few circumstances. Kuzzy Jack, holy cow, Gail. Thank you. That's exactly what I thought. And Scott D, wow, great support of the channel. So fellow Chicagoan. Gail, I'd be very interested to know what you do for work. Have you been to Thailand before? You sort of often, when you're on the comment section, you're in Chicago. So just would be really interested to know about how you relate to Thailand, whether you've been a long-term supporter of the country, you've been here, you want to come back. John Armstrong, comment, the money that I save on food in Thailand pays for the airfares and more. Great comment. And I'd also be interested to know, John, as I am interested with anybody who comes here, how you actually get here. If you fly from, say, Los Angeles, or do you fly through Vancouver with that direct flight from North America into Thailand? There was talk during the week about the Thai government trying to court other United States airlines, Delta, United Airlines, American Airlines, into putting together a direct flight to Thailand. I think part of the problem is the equipment. You need a certain type of aircraft Singapore Airlines, for example, and Thai used to use the Airbus A340, which was a bit of a gas guzzler, but it was able to do the long term haul across the Pacific to get here in one jump. But now I think some airlines are looking at the Airbus A350, the 900, I think, and the 1000 will be able to fly you all the way from the United States to Thailand in one hop. I suppose the other question, of course, is the demand. Are there enough people in the United States to be able to maintain a regular service, be it twice a week or 4 times a week or whatever? So always interested to hear how you actually get to Thailand. A lot of people in Europe these days do tend to come through one of the Emirates, Doha, Bahrain, what's the other one? Anyway, you know, all those Emirates Airlines, Etihad, Emirates Airlines. What's the other one? Qatar. Had a customer arrive on Qatar Airlines yesterday. So a lot of people these days, do come through the Middle East on their way to Thailand. Direct flights into Phuket from all the Emirates states just about every day. Heathrow says, question, what percentage does YouTube take out of Super Chat? I think it's about 10%. I think it also changes as your level changes within YouTube as well, as explained to me by my YouTube mentor. Yes, I do have a YouTube mentor who speaks to me once a month, which is very nice. Pete Nesden, is permanent residence capped at a certain number per nationality still? Yes, I think it is, but they don't have that much of a demand, so I don't think any of those caps have been met, certainly in recent years. But a fair comment, I think that if you were contemplating permanent residency, the place to start would be at your Thai embassy in your country with an inquiry. Guy H, unlike the rest of the world, who seems to call all new arrivals migrants, Australia has always differentiated based on their visa category. Refugees, tourists and expats are not migrants. Okay, thanks for that comment. How do I sort of perceive that? Yeah, I mean, I think refugees around the world are recognised with a certain definition. I think a lot of people, there was a big debate in the 90s, and it was used as a hot election button in Australia about all the boat people arriving in Australia, these illegal migrants arriving by boat. It was about 1% of the illegal migrants were coming by boat. The other 99%, guess what? They were arriving on scheduled flights from wherever in the world. So that was one of those furphy debates, but it became very political. Dave C. No, it's not 30%. Richard Woolley, that's a liberal thing Christians say. That's a liberal thing Christians say Merry Christmas. I don't think this has got anything to do with politics, is it? That's a liberal thing Christians say Merry Christmas. Okay, all right. I say Merry Christmas, I'm not a Christian. Anthony Orm says, as you alluded to, expat is often labelled to Westerners and immigrants to those from poorer countries. If you call a Westerner an immigrant, they sometimes get offended, even though same. Well, that's the way I see it too. And I suppose if I was to be honest, I am an immigrant with my intention. I don't think it was my intention to stay in Thailand forever, but now my intention is. That may change in the future for all I know. Now, I've got a few other things I wanted to cover, and it's great when everybody sort of gets involved with the conversation. So let's have a quick look at who are the expats and the immigrants in Thailand. I think a lot of us, we sort of keep in our own little circle, our own little like social media echo chamber, and we tend to see other expats like us wandering around because maybe we notice them. But when you go walking down the street in Thailand, you would be walking past hundreds and hundreds of other immigrants. A lot of them would be Burmese, Laos, from Laotians. God, turn the brain on. I'm just watching my cat Dina over here, who's sneaking out the door when Daisy the dog isn't looking. They have this game where she plays, "Oh, I'm offended by you coming and chasing me," but she loves being chased, actually. So, yeah, and Cambodians, of course. Anyway, this covers most of it. Let's have a look. As of 2024, there are an estimated 3 to 4 million foreigners living in Thailand, making up about 5 to 6% of the country's total population. Most expats in Thailand, this is the big obvious thing that we tend to forget, come from countries like Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Vietnam. Three of those at least sharing borders with Thailand, so that's fairly obvious. At least 112,000 of the foreigners in Thailand are considered skilled workers. There are a lot of people that come to Thailand, I think initially to work here, particularly in things like the hospitality industry. Dad comes over to be the general manager of a hotel, brings mum with him and the two kids, and the two kids are sort of growing up in an international school, start to get very international friends. They sort of get into the network of the local community, and then they decide, even after the tenure of the job is over, as skilled workers in the hospitality industry, they decide to stay here, or in many cases, of course, they tend to go back to where they came from, or maybe off to another international destination for their hospitality work. Location expats are most commonly found, not surprisingly, in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Pattaya, Phuket and Thai islands like Koh Samui and Koh Tao. There obviously is a focus on two things. One, the hospitality industry. They're working in the hospitality industry, or as people who have moved here to live or retire perhaps, or long-term living, they're going to these areas because they do have a lot of other foreigners. They have a lot of services which are appropriate for foreigners, and they feel more comfortable rather than perhaps going up and living in rural Thailand, where they might feel a bit more isolated unless they can learn the language. The cost of living, this refers to the cost of living in Thailand is about 45.2% lower than in the United States and 35% lower than in the United Kingdom. Of course, there are a million generalisations in those two particular comments. The cost of living in Thailand is a lot lower than other countries, of course, and I think that is a thing that may attract some people. Now, I know there are a lot of pensioners that do come to live in Thailand. If I had to live in Australia on the pension the government gave me, if I had nothing else, I don't think I'd be able to make ends meet, or I'd certainly be struggling. You can bring, it's very difficult for Australians to port their pensions, some easier than others, but it's a very individual situation. I can't advise on that, but it would be almost impossible for me to get the Australian pension and bring it to Thailand for all sorts of reasons. But that aside, a pensioner coming to Thailand is going to get a lot more bang for their buck. Their spend is going to go a lot further here in Thailand. Now, one expat that lives locally here gets a fixed amount from a foreign government and actually ends up being able to save a little bit each month. They don't spend it all. So you can actually live very, very well here in Thailand compared to the standard of living you might have in your own country, given that you'll need to find some way of living here long term, and that may be an annual renewal of a retirement visa or some other means. So yeah, if you do want to come and retire here in Thailand, don't just look at the monthly costs, like your rent and your food and any other cost, your health costs, etc. But there's also things like the minimum amount that you need to bring into the country per month, or a fixed amount that has to be in a Thai bank when you apply for your visa and renew your visa each year. I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, aren't I? So, we are talking about expats. Now, these are numbers that go back to 2010. I couldn't find anything, in the hour or so before the program, there was more up to date. And this talks about Burmese people filling up around about 50% of the immigrant and expat population here in Thailand. A long way in second, we've got Cambodia, Laos, and then we've got a lot of more longer haul countries, China leading the way there. Then, interestingly, this is back in 2010, the UK. I would suggest that the UK would be a lot further down the list 14 years later. But Japan, for example, is now nearly up in the top 3 or 4, and I'll go through that in a moment. Indian citizens, yes, also well up in the list. A lot of countries there around about the 1% mark. Got the United States, Netherlands, Germany, France, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Norway, Sweden. So that's the way that they saw it back in 2010. I would suggest Filipinos have really gone up over the past 10 years. They are seen as good workers. They speak English. They do work a lot in the hospitality sector. Even in the performance, the musicians. If you go to a foreign hotel, if there's some performers there, they'll very likely be Filipinos rather than Thais. What is it about Filipinos and singing? I don't think I've met a Filipino who can't sing, or who doesn't think they can sing anyway. When I went to the Philippines working with a band back in 2000 or 2000, no, it was 2004, because I remember we started the tour and we were in Jakarta when we heard the news of the tsunami. So it was 2004 when we did that tour. And in the Philippines, we went on all these shows like The Voice and things like that, whatever they were back in 2004. They were obviously different shows. But all these talent shows where hundreds of Filipino people are singing their heart out. Great singers for some reason. Just a cultural thing, of course. I think the expats in the US has dropped down quite a lot. Philippines up quite a lot. The UK, I think, has gone down. Japan, I think, has gone up. And things like Malaysia, well, of course, there's a certain amount of cross-border expatery going on there, I think. Norway and Sweden, who were in sort of 13th and 14th place, there's been a lot of these snowbirds spending their summers, their winters here in Thailand, enjoying the warmth. Sorry, I'm a bit coffee today. I don't have a water. Nothing left in there. Nothing left in the coffee. I'm just going to have to suffer. Oh, hang on. I've got some WD-40. That might lubricate things a bit. I digress. Let's go back to your comments. What else did I have to say? Oh, yes, I was going to do that story from yesterday. Zooming through your comments. I'll sort of go down and refresh. Good heavens, got so many comments here. I'll try and zoom through them. Shane Foster, good afternoon. Timbo, you must be Friday afternoon for you. No, it's in Sydney, I see. So it's this afternoon in Sydney. I plan to expatriate to Thailand myself in the next couple of years. The food, the people, the weather, the cost of living. Tick, 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 tick. Have to agree with you. Lots of Filipinos in education. Very good point. Are paid less than other English teachers. That's true too. Yes, there are a lot of Filipino teachers. I know quite a few of them. I used to live with a teacher, not a Filipino teacher, and that was a common thread that a lot of the teachers were Filipinos. Of course, they tend to teach English. And a big thanks to Lewis Carbo. Tim, what are your views on the destination visa? This is the DTV. Well, I think it's a great initiative because, Lewis, there are so many ways of staying here in Thailand long term. A lot of people are going to whinge about it, but I think there are probably more chances to stay here for a long time than most other countries, and really not that difficult. If you are having difficulty with your visa, there's also thousands of agents which will be very happy to get you to pay them to sort out all your problems. And the agents are generally doing a very good job. And things like social media, I think, sort out the chaff from the jewels. So, an agent can certainly help you if you are having any problems. But you've got the privilege elite visa, you've got the smart visa, you've got the destination Thailand visa. I'll talk more about that in a sec. Of course, you've got the O and the OA visa, the geezer visa, the retirement visa. So there are so many ways that you can stay here long term now. Destination Thailand visa, if you get it approved, you do have to show that you are here for some soft power reason. It may be working for a foreign company, not a Thai company, but a foreign company. They'll allow you to work remotely here in Thailand under the destination visa. It sort of works. It's for a total of 5 years, and you get it in chunks of 6 months. The first 6 months, according to the foreign ministry, is you're allowed to stay here 6 months. Then you can renew for another 6 months, giving you a total of a year. Then you have to leave the country for, it could just be overnight, I think, and then come back and restart that process of 6 months plus 6 months. That's the way, if you read the foreign ministry, that the DTV will work. Of course, it's very early days. I think some 35,000 DTVs have already been issued. So if it doesn't work like that, there's going to be a lot of very upset people. But that's the way it's meant to work. And I think it costs, depending on where you are in the world, between 10 and 14,000 baht. So that's probably one of the cheapest visa options you're going to get here in Thailand. The retirement visa still being the cheapest. But the DTV does give you other opportunities, particularly the fact that you can work remotely for a foreign company whilst here in Thailand. That's my understanding. So hopefully that answers your question, Lewis. Okay, just going back to the questions here. I'm not going to get through all of these, but I'm doing my best. I'm sort of going backwards. John Swift. I left PP 3 days before the tsunami. Returned to Phuket 4 days. The difference in mood was extreme. Okay, we're not talking about the tsunami, but thank you very much. The Wu-Tang Life, the new Thai income tax law will bite into some expats, people's budgets if you stay 180 days or more. Get a LTR visa that's tax exempt. Okay, the Wu-Tang Life, got to be very careful talking about this. It's not a new Thai tax law. It's a variation on the Tax Income Act. It's not a new Thai law. It's a variation, and it includes mostly aimed at Thai people bringing money into the country, but could affect some foreigners who bring money into the country in a tax year. I can only advise, and I will not advise people on this because there's a lot of misinformation in the internet, and I don't want to be spreading that misinformation. But you need to get a tax lawyer, preferably a Thai tax lawyer, to be able to advise you on your personal situation. Most expats are not going to be wound up into this process. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on. I don't want to exacerbate that. And a long-term LTR, long-term... anyway, the LTR visa, the smart visa is one of them, for example, is a way to avoid tax. However, it doesn't avoid tax in all cases. So again, you're going to need some advice from somebody. So the whole taxation situation is not cut and dried. There's no black and white answer, and I'm not going to advise anybody on it except to get professional, individual advice based on their particular situation and if they are staying in Thailand for more than 180 days at a time. Morning, sorry, I'm late, boss. Catch up. Philip J. Okay, just scrolling down, and thank you to, where's the red one? I've already done that one. Okay. Um, Richard Woolley, Tim, do you see any other Southeast Asian countries becoming more enticing for expats in the near future? Well, I sort of keep a bit of a rough look at this, sort of from the outside, just so I can be fairly objective. Now, Malaysia has wound back a lot of their rules about expats going to live in Malaysia in recent times. It's not quite as enticing as it used to be. And, Malaysia has just got a different vibe than Thailand, but it might be somewhere that you enjoy. I love going to Penang, but it's not a culture that generally I would find the same sort of joy and happiness that I do with Thais, who tend, from the outside anyway, to be generally happy sort of people all the time. Vietnam is very, very difficult to get a long-term visa. It's just going to be a constant battle with them. Same with Cambodia. Laos, don't even think about trying to go there long-term. Myanmar, of course, a basket case at the moment. Thailand does have a very good record of long-term relative consistency with its visas. I mean, the retirement visa has been around for at least 3 decades. Very few changes, and most of the changes have been more about dotting the I's and crossing the T's rather than changing the actual visa. So a lot of people say, oh, Thailand keeps on changing their mind. Well, they really don't. There are variations and a bit of tweaking here and there. And they introduce new opportunities for... Okay, I will get to that in just a moment. I don't believe what I've just seen. Oh my God. In fact, I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. So, Thailand has a lot of different options for visas. I think it will remain a favourite place for retirees for a long time to come. But because it's not so much the ease of living in a place, it's also why are you moving to that place? And I think Thailand ticks a lot of boxes in regards to culture, availability to high quality medical. The cost of living is generally low. There are so many different places that you can live, either by the beach or up in the hills or in the middle of the city. Lewis, I will attend to this, and I'm extremely humbled. Lewis, I don't know what to say. Tim, I'm retired with enough assets for any visa. I'm 63 from the US. I'm interested in renting. Give me your best advice. Lewis, thank you very much for your generosity. I am humbled and shocked. Thank you very much. Give me your best advice in renting. Well, Lewis and anybody else, I always recommend people rent here in Thailand, not buy. Buying land is technically illegal for a foreigner. The intention of the laws in Thailand is that foreigners cannot own land. Now, I'm not going to address the very few cases where you can, and that's partly involved with a BOI project. With very high investments, you do get access to purchasing land, freehold. Very, 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 very few cases. Now, there are a few workarounds for having land in Thailand. Things like leases. Currently, you can lease for up to 30 years. They are talking about the possibility of increasing that to, I think, 90 years or 95 years, I think it was. That hasn't happened yet, but it's a proposal. They're also looking at expanding the percentage of foreign investment in a particular condominium. Currently, it's 50%, and 50% can be sold to foreigners, and they can have freehold for that apartment. Now, other people have in the past used another workaround which has been heavily promoted by lawyers who, of course, benefit from the payment of setting it up, and real estate agents who have been lying to people for years, telling them you can set up a Thai company, a Thai nominee company, and then Thai company can buy the land. Now, a lot of people have gotten away with this for years, but you, as the foreigner, can only own 49% of that Thai company. Now, in some cases, you may need, as a foreigner, if you've got a B visa and you've got a company here, distraction on the side there, you may have a reason for that company to need to buy land to build a building or whatever, and the Thai nominee is an employee of the company or a business partner, whereby you could legally get that company to buy land and have freehold over the land. But you, as the foreigner, will still only have 49% of that company. So you just need to be very, very careful. Technically, it is illegal. There have been some confiscations over the past couple of years. Most notably, we've reported on TNT in Phuket. I think there were about 20 Russian people who had thought they'd bought land through a Thai freehold Thai company, and the lawyer, I think, was arrested. The Russian people lost their title on that land, so it didn't work out well for them, and you just need to be very, very, very careful. Get a Thai lawyer, lawyer to do the conveyancing for you. Don't do it any other way. Technically, the idea, the rule, the vibe in Thailand, the intention is that foreigners can't own land. Renting gives you the flexibility. It's very cheap to rent. Don't rent from a real estate agent. Drive around, ask questions, go on a forum. I say rent directly from a Thai. Do the contract yourself with the Thai. Get to know them. Have a few meetings with them. I find it much easier. However, if you do want a mediator in the middle, like an agent, that's fine too. But I tend to find by renting from the internet, from all the real estate websites, you do end up paying a lot more for your rentals than you probably need to. Lewis, once again, thank you very much. Okay. Tim, regarding today's donations, you have to pay a lot of tax next year. Yeah, okay. John Slater, I'm going to buy a Ranger Raptor. I'm not sure about how insurance works. Any advice on an insurance agent? Oh, yep, sure. I've got an insurance agent. We had him on 3 weeks ago. Max from BeCare Brokers. BeCareBrokers.com, I think it is, or BeCare.com. BeCare Brokers, I think. Letter B. Care, C-A-R-E, BeCare Brokers. Now, I don't recommend agents or insurance people often. I'm very adverse to recommending anything. However, most people have had a very good situation with Max. He's certainly looked after me for many years here in Thailand, so I can recommend BeCare Insurance. They sort of cover everything. The Ranger Raptor, I think it's built here in Thailand, and very good car. I've got a new car. I'll get to it. I'm making a video about it, but I'm so behind with my video editing, I just haven't got around to it. It's not a Ranger Raptor, but good luck, good car, and try BeCare Broker. If you write to Max, email max@becarebroker.com, max@becarebroker.com, then say Tim sent you, and he'll give you no discount at all. By the way, I don't get a commission or anything. I'm just recommending Max out of, just a good nature. He's looked after me. He's been a good businessman. He's professional. I remember when I first came to Thailand, he was working for another insurance company, and for 2 years he was saying, I want to go out and start my own business. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm afraid it's not going to work. And myself and a few others were encouraging him, go on, Max, it's going to be good and it's going to be hard work for a couple of years, but it'll all work out. And it did. And he's done very, very, very well out of it. So well done, Max, and good luck with anybody contacting him. You can until you cannot. I'm not sure what they're talking about here. Okay. 808 Bear. I heard M&M Bar was up for sale, including a house out the back. Something to think about. If you want to go broke in Thailand or have a lot of problems, open a bar. And there would be a lot of forums that could just spend all their time talking about that. I've seen more problems with foreigners owning bars than the number of days I've been here. Shelley, Lewis, just get on a plane and come. We're all here with open arms waiting. I rent in Bangkok and have no regrets. Yeah, renting just gives you that opportunity to opt out. I mean, Thailand may not be for you. You may not enjoy it. You may have reasons where you need to go back. And disposing of property here in Thailand for a foreigner is just more complicated. You're going to have to get lawyers involved, and it just might be easier to rent. I always recommend, certainly, for 99% of the community, rent in Thailand. If you have a need to buy land, maybe lease the land and build a property on it, as something more permanent for your family, I fully understand. But certainly for the first, 1, 5, 10 years, rent in Thailand before you do anything else. Okay, thanks to renting, I moved multiple times already after noticing I made a mistake, says Alan. That is my case. When I first came to Phuket, they started building one of these underpasses. It took 2 years, and it just took forever to go around where they were building and get to my work. So I moved. I've actually moved about 7 or 8 times, I think, over the 13 years I've lived here in Thailand. Always moving to a place, not necessarily better or anything, but just better located to what I was doing. When I was working with Tiger up in Bangkok, I was flying from Phuket to Bangkok every week. I'd come back to Phuket for the weekends. So we moved to Koh Kao, which was on Tepkasat 3 Road, and was 30 minutes to the airport, so closer than when I lived in, say, Chalong or Katu in Phuket. The Kisong. Rent on a monthly basis is different in different locations until you find the right place for you, then rent yearly. Another good recommendation. Daryl McGee, thank you very, very much for your ongoing support. Another great show, says Daryl. I couldn't agree more, Daryl. Thank you very much. Moved in with the wife and live rent-free, says Thailand Dave. Good for you, toy boy. Okay, so I don't really understand why anyone would retire in Cambodia or Malaysia for that matter. Thailand seems to have so much more infrastructure and resources for expats. Certainly in Thailand compared to Cambodia. Malaysia, in locations, in parts, has got very good infrastructure. It does, however, have a different general vibe, and that may or may not suit some people. Again, if you want to retire in Southeast Asia, go and spend 3 months in Malaysia, 3 months in Cambodia, 3 months in Thailand. That's about it. Where I couldn't recommend Vietnam to retire. Philippines, yeah, go and spend 3 months in the Philippines and just see what suits you. And if you are going to those places, spend a month here, a month there, and a month there. Go to different places in those countries. Tim Shaw says, Tim, tell Lewis about lease length terms. Rent a house or condo near a beach. It all depends on Lewis and his weekly lifestyle requirements. I lived on a Phuket golf course, Lewis, with a plunge pool. I actually lived in the villa next door to where Tim lived on that golf course. And I didn't have a plunge pool, Tim did. But I wasn't there at the same time Tim was staying there. I was there in the years later. But I spent 2 years living on that golf course next to hole number 9. And I used to love watching, especially the South Korean golfers come and throw their clubs around. I used to get very upset for some reason. Blah, blah, blah. UK state pensions might initially be paid at the full amount if you have made all the payments. Thereafter, the amount will be permanently frozen. This is a problem for UK pensioners. There has been a bit of a crackdown because some people living in Thailand registered that they were living in countries where their pension would be altered each year to keep up with inflation. But I think that hasn't gone well for some UK pensioners. Pensions are treated differently by different countries and for different people. But as I said, for Australians, it is a little bit more cumbersome to make your pension portable. For me, it would be virtually impossible. So I've made the decision that I'm staying in Thailand. I'm not going to worry about having any connections to the Australian government and their pension scheme and social security. I'll be self-funding. And that's why I'm working my ass off at the moment with my YouTube channel and my new enterprise here on the beach. I'm not going to have time to go through those other items I was going to include in today's program. So I'll just keep on going through your comments. Let's see your new wheels, Tim. I'm not drunk. Not yet, but soon. Maybe by next week. We say Merry Christmas in all Spanish-speaking countries, regardless of religion. Well, I mean, a lot of Spanish-speaking countries, for whatever reason, tend to be very Catholic. And, I'm not fully up with why people in the US tend to say happy holidays. I sort of know it's about offence to people who aren't Christians, but I mean, it is at the end of the day a Christian tradition, and if Christians want to say Merry Christmas and express their good wishes to you or give you a present, I'd say thanks. I don't want to get into that issue. Cambodia visas are much easier to get and cheaper, and you only an hour from Bangkok by air, says Graham Haig. Look, some Cambodian visas are easier to get. There are parts of Cambodian visas that are much more complicated than Thailand, though. If you are looking at Cambodia for retirement, just make sure you check out all the details, the costs, and just make sure that you find a place that you're going to be comfortable to live in Cambodia. If you're looking, that race to the bottom, the cheapest place to live in Southeast Asia, you may find parts of Cambodia cheaper than Thailand, if that's what you're looking for. Alpha Bravo, expats are often individuals that want to create a maximum distance to their ex-wives from their home country. Okay. Thanks, Alpha Bravo. Guzzy Jack, beware of Facebook scammers renting out property that isn't theirs. Yeah, don't rent a property from Facebook. Well, if you do, make sure you go and see the property first and meet the agent and read the contract. Don't just rent it online after seeing it on Facebook. You'd be insane. There are a lot of scams on Facebook and other social media here. Rented 4 different units in the last 4 years, landlords are extremely picky and will hold you to anything that will yield retaining your deposit. I bought a new house with the girlfriend and now save $30,000 per month. But you paid money for the house, presumably. But look, again, girlfriend, okay, let's hope it lasts and maybe one day you'll get married. But, yeah, good luck. Sorry, Jamie, it's not nothing to do with you. It's to do with the fact I don't have any water around here. How easy would it be? Yes, it is sometimes difficult to get your deposit back. That's why in Thailand, relationships are really important. And a good relationship with your landlord is just as important. Now, a lot of people say, just have a contract and it's all done and I'll get my deposit back. Not sometimes that easy. So yes, Thai landlords are sort of notorious for keeping deposits. So just have a good relationship with them. Talk about getting your deposit back at the end of the tenancy, and just get their feelings on the matter, and explain to them that you hope to get your deposit back, and what are the conditions, what are the things that would prevent you from getting your deposit back. Take lots of photos. If they don't want to give you your deposit back, I mean, going to court and getting a lawyer is probably not going to work, really. Peter Nesden, how easy would it be to rent with a doggo? In your experience, are landlords flexible with pets? Or some properties, yes, many not. I'm very lucky here that my landlord has got no problems. I mean, I'm on about a rye of land, so I've got plenty of room for the doggo. Where is the doggo? She'll be around somewhere. And the two cats, they got a great life here, chasing each other. So, yeah, just you need to get permission from your landlord if you are going to have a pet. And if they say no, then you're just going to have to look somewhere else. It's not as if many properties will allow pets, but certainly there are some. We find different areas, and we've sort of got on to talking about retirement and expat, a different aspect of the story. We'll do another 3 questions, and then I'm going to go and have a glass of water and relax a bit. I'm not a drunk. That's his handle. We find different areas of Thailand are better at different times of the year. So have a base in Bangkok, but travel up north in November and December, and down south January to March. So yes, flexibility. I mean, rental can be very cheap in some locations, so you can almost rent it out all year and use it as like a holiday home. Or it seems in your case, I'm not a drunk, you to rent for 3 or 4 months, then go somewhere else for 3 or 4 months, and sure, you can do that. John Slater, is it okay to purchase a new car without an agent or a Thai friend? Any risk buying a used one from a private party? Okay, so you need a long-term visa, I understand, to buy a car. I had to present my visa to the people selling me the car. I paid, in my case, cash. Foreigners can get loans, but it's difficult. More difficult for a foreigner to get a loan than a Thai, and they've really cracked down on loans generally from banks and lending institutions in Thailand over the past couple of years. What was the question? Is it okay to... you don't need an agent or a Thai friend. If you are going to get a loan, you're probably going to have to get a Thai guarantor. That can be difficult. There's no risk in buying a used one, but that's probably where you may need an agent to check out the paperwork on the car. And the older the car, the more the paperwork you need to check. But buying a new car, buying a used car, foreigners can do both. Obviously, a new car, you're going to be buying it from a car yard. The paperwork is going to be much easier, and they're very excited to sell you a new car. Buying a used car from a private citizen, I recommend getting an agent involved personally, particularly because in many cases those cars would have borrowed money to buy those cars. Why not Vietnam? Vietnam, they change their mind every 5 minutes about visas. You can't get a long stay visa in Vietnam. You can get short-term visas and you can renew them, but no guarantees. Vietnam, a bit of a trap for retirees who want to settle somewhere and stay long-term. a beautiful country and would be lovely to retire there in many cases, but very difficult to retire in Vietnam at the moment. Just remember one thing: don't marry the first girl that you meet. Well, we might do that story one day. Never marry a bar girl, says Vince. I think that's probably generally good advice as well. Tim, do you know what happened to the migrant workers below Big Buddha? Are they okay? Says Alan. Well, no, I think there was about 13 of them that died from memory. The rocks and the mud came down the hill and just barreled over their flimsy homes, and they're gone. Sorry to say. There were some migrant workers living in the area who survived, but I think it was there were 2 Russians and a Thai, and most of the others were all migrant workers that died in that catastrophe. Tim, I need some advice, says Jack Rose. Some lady pickpocketed me on the BART bus. I got my wallet back after yelling at her for 20 minutes. I wouldn't recommend yelling at a Thai or anybody else for that matter. Anyway, I have her picture. Should I post it on Facebook or should I just say forget it? I don't know the circumstances of that situation. I can't advise you. I'm sorry. Just be very careful yelling at Thai people. Sometimes it may not end well. As soon as you start yelling at them, they're losing face. And that's the last thing you want to do, is make a Thai lose face. You need to sue the police. I think that's what you need to do. Hey, if I come where you are, would you have a coffee with me, says Luke Rogers. Probably. Send me an email. Okay, Cambodia would surely be cheaper than Bangkok. Where I live, many things are expensive, but on the other hand, we have easy access to malls, restaurants, hospitals. Sort of get what you pay for. If you want to live in a city, there's few cities in the world more exciting and vibrant than Bangkok. I mean, it is an amazing city. For all its downs, it has a lot of ups. Why is it okay to celebrate other countries' festive things but not Christmas? Why is it okay to celebrate other countries' festive things but not Christmas? Are you addressing that to me? I'm celebrating Christmas. One more. UK pension is unfrozen once you return back to the UK. Always best to notify government of your movements in and out of the country. So there you go. Cambodia is like Thailand 30 years ago, unspoiled. Vince, I'd have to disagree with you there. I think Cambodia is being spoiled very, very quickly. And I've had some friends just return. In fact, a customer arrived yesterday. They'd been in Cambodia and showed me some photos of Siem Reap in the area around Angkor Wat. And I was shocked by the amount of development. It looks like it has, in many cases, been very spoilt indeed. You go down to Sihanoukville on the coast of Cambodia, being completely destroyed by development. A lot of Chinese casinos. But don't blame the Chinese, blame the Cambodians for selling them the land and allowing them to build the casinos there. Just pure greed, I'm afraid. You can negotiate a 1 month deposit. Yeah, I mean, I think this is it. I think by law they can only have 1 month as a deposit, but a lot of them demand things like at least 2 month deposit or a year in advance. For my properties, I paid a year in advance. I have 10-year leases, but I negotiated a discount because I paid so much up front. Negotiate. There is a glut of rentals here, very competitive, negotiate 1 month deposit. Yeah, there is plenty of choice for rentals right around the country. So I continue to recommend rentals as your first stop in Thailand. If you decide you want to have some longer tenure, then that's something that you can discuss with a lawyer once you've been here for 3, 4, 5 years. Don't think about buying before then. Vietnam is a communist country. Well, yeah, so is Laos. I'm not sure if that's a big problem per se for most people when it comes to retirement. You either want to live there or you don't. Even though the Thai police also quite corrupt when it comes to catching criminals, they solved almost every case quite effectively, especially when it involved foreigners. Yeah, that's a good point. I think my relationship with Thai police has been very good over the years, and yes, there's corruption in the police force. There's corruption in many police forces around the world. But yeah, I've had a pretty good relationship with them, and I think it's just in many ways, a matter of getting to know how they sort of think and operate, have respect for them, and don't yell at them or try and get the better of them. And I find generally Thai police are very easy to get along with. With that, thank you for dropping in today. We've been speaking about what it is to be an expat or a immigrant here in Thailand. What brought you to the country? We tended to sort of get into some of the weeds of people living here in Thailand about leases and rental and buying and stuff, and that's fine too. Really, at the end of the day, this hour we do every Saturday morning is your program, so you drive the conversation. I've tried to get to as many comments as I can. I've got things to do, so I have to go. But I thank particularly, I'll just shout out these people because they were amazing. Lewis Cabo, thank you. And also Gail Fozchek. Is it Fozchek? Or I'll just say Gail in Chicago. Both of you, thank you very much. And also to the other people with their super chats. Appreciate you dropping in today. Have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with our usual daily TNT news program. Until then, we'll see you later. Now I've got to push this button here. Bye.